ready to whiskey. Get down!
We're going to drink some whiskey.
Get to the whiskey! Get down! Welcome to the Whiskey Tribe. Today is the really big, really common whiskey purchasing mistakes. When you're buying some whiskey, what are some hurdles, some stumbling points that tons of people fall into?
No particular order, let's just pick one.
This is basically buying whiskey based on a random recommendation. You say, hey, what whiskey should I buy? And somebody shouts out their favorite whiskey.
This goes back to the same thing we've talked about before with like album reviews and Rolling Stone.
Right.
You sort of have to know the reviewer to know if you agree, or go to a Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
Someone reviews a movie and they just shit all over it.
Right.
Well, if that guy also shits all over other movies you love,
yeah,
you know something about that guy.
What you're going to be recommended, the only thing that means is the whiskey that single human being is recommending, that single human being likes that whiskey.
Yeah.
That's all it means.
Now there's a counter to this, which is, hey, you know a lot about whiskey, and you're gonna bring a whiskey as a gift for someone or to a party.
Right.
And you love Lafroig.
Right.
And you go, hey, you should really try this amazing thing. You gotta purchase your whiskey accordingly.
So understanding not only just whiskey, but where your personal preferences fit within the world of whiskey is really, really important to make sure that every time you invest in a bottle, you buy a bottle, you're that much more likely to enjoy it.
So what's the next thing?
Basically buying into the stereotypes and cliches about any whiskey category. There's a lot of people out there, they hear the word Scotch, and immediately they think, oh, Scotch is gonna be really super smoky and challenging.
But then you've got things like Glenfarclas 10, which are lovely and pretty, and a single malt, and an age statement whiskey.
You can't paint with too broad of a brush whenever you're talking about any kind of whiskey.
Yeah, like for example, you know, all rye is aggressive and spicy and oaky, and well, not necessarily. Some of them, even, you know, single barrels, like the Jack Daniel's single barrels, are really sweet.
Yeah.
And really low on the spice. Or all bourbon is candy and oak. Well, what about Wyoming bourbon,
You get
which
more-
is a little more eucalyptus and black tea?
So the next one, this is often a pitfall that a lot of whiskey drinkers fall into that have been around the block a few times. They fancy themselves a whiskey enthusiast, a connoisseur of the whiskey arts. They will basically get to this point where they've had some nice fancy whiskeys and decide, I can't possibly have anything that is sourced or blended.
For example, if you say, you know, all sourced bourbon is bullshit, well, then you're gonna miss all the amazing things that High West has to offer.
And I have not had a High West that has disappointed me yet. It's
If you
fantastic.
say, oh, all blended Scotch is bullshit, well, then you're gonna miss out on a world of glory from Compass Box.
Now here's
among others.
Because here's the
or
thing.
Douglas Lang.
Because here's the thing. The reason why there's a lot of people who are refusing sourced and refusing blended is because, yes, it can be done poorly.
They're thinking of the shitty versions, right? It's one of those things where you say, if you're gonna have a cheap whiskey, it's probably blended whiskey.
Yep.
But not all blended whiskey is cheap, shitty whiskey.
Yeah, same thing with like a sourced bourbon. They just want to lower the proof as low as it can go.
Brand it and blow it.
The next really big common mistake that people make whenever they're buying a whiskey, it's whenever they're going back to the same bottle again and again and again and again and again. They never explore.
And this is often a problem with newbies into the whiskey category, because they sort of, they just drink Jameson, they just drink Bushmills, they just drink Bullet, they just drink name a standard, industry standard.
Right.
If you want to help that person explore, then one of the easiest ways to do it is not say, well, if you like Jameson, you should go buy a green spot that costs 10 times as much money.
Right.
It's like, no. You should say, oh, if you like Jameson, have you tried the Jameson cask mates?
Yeah.
Let's just do a slight sidestep.
If they're willing to spend a bit more money and get into the world of Redbreast.
Yeah.
Redbreast 12
Hot
is still
still.
still an Irish whiskey.
Oh, you like Bullet. Have you tried Four Roses?
Exactly.
Right?
A little bit sweeter.
A little bit more complex and woody, right?
That can be an eye-opening experience.
Now, this is also a problem for people who drink all the time, where you just sort of know what you love and you go straight to the Isla section, or you
Yeah.
go straight to the single barrels.
It's great to have favorites, but if you never break out beyond that, there's a huge giant world that you're never going to actually be able to experience. Now, the third really common mistake, this is often people who, again, fancy themselves connoisseurs, enthusiasts. It's being obsessed with age statements, and I don't drink anything that's less than 12 years old and that type of stuff. We've seen, especially within the recent years, distilleries coming out with NAS whiskeys, non-age statement whiskeys.
Some of them are doing it because they're trying to explore the potential of the barrel house and the flavors inside the barrel house.
Yeah.
And also because sometimes what's going into the blend includes some young whiskey, yes, but also some really old whiskey. So for example, if you really loved unbelievably expensive whiskey, this Ardbeg 21, and it's an age statement, well, if you only stuck to Ardbeg age statements, you would miss out on all the committee releases, like Perpetuum, that are just
and I'll tell you,
magical.
I had this 21, it was yesterday evening, 21-year-old Ardbeg. It's amazingly nice, I gotta tell you. And it's not necessarily my favorite Ardbeg.
It's really not.
So Daniel, what is the biggest mistake that we see most often when it comes to buying whiskey?
More money must be mo better.
No.
Just because it costs more does not mean it is a better whiskey.
For two reasons. One, taste is subjective. Two, price is based on supply.
It's based on rarity.
Yeah.
It's like diamonds and whiskey. So price is based on rarity, and the rarity can be defined by the market or the maker. So either the brand says, well, this shit's rare.
Right.
Or the market says, I can't find it anywhere. That shit's rare. And that's where you end up paying more.
We're getting towards 1,000. Even the whiskeys that haven't been on the show, we've tasted around 1,000 whiskeys at this point. There is absolutely a point of diminishing returns whenever it comes to the price point of various whiskeys and the enjoyment you're gonna get out of that whiskey. The meaty part of the bell curve whenever it comes to spending some money and then getting a lot of deep, rich, flavorful whiskeys. With American whiskey, it seems to me to be around like $45 to $50. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
Okay, what would you say it's for like Scottish or Irish whiskeys?
So I would say in Irish and Scotch, it's going to be in the range of probably $80.
Okay.
That's going to get you the majority of the really amazing stuff.
I have a bonus mistake that people make when it comes to whiskey.
A bonus mistake.
Not necessarily buying whiskey, but whenever producing whiskey content. And the number one mistake people make is doing a show where I have creative control over what happens in each episode.
Yeah, that is a mistake. And confirmed.
Are you ready?
In theory.
I was promised for content production for the people, adequate time to capture said content. And this week, it's like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm not gonna be here on Friday.
Yep.
All right, cool. So, and then I hear, well, on Thursday, I need to leave by 3 o'clock on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then what did you just tell me an hour ago?
If we can get done earlier, the better, because I have errands I need to run before I fly out.
Worse than that. He said, you know, actually, if I could leave right now.
No, you said,
that would
when do
be
you need to
ideal.
leave? I said, if I could leave now, it'd be ideal, but...
This is how you're going to redeem yourself. This is how you're going to redeem yourself.
Totally redeem yourself.
Because what you bring to the table, sommelier skills in, in whiskey knowledge.
Okay.
And I think we need an expert demonstration of those skills. 3 things at once. Because you could be teaching people about whiskey and you had one too many yourself. You still gotta be on the ball.
Gotta be on a pro.
I want to make sure your label reading skills are on point. And because we have a distillery, a new rapid aging experiment.
Oh, okay.
All at once. Daniel.
Yes.
Meet share.
Yeah, that's a chair.
Meet leaf blower.
Uh-oh. This is not one of those blow it in your face situations, is it?
No, that's just too hackneyed.
Okay.
I would never do such a thing. A real pro does
not get drunk while they're teaching.
Even the best. Sometimes it gets a little ahead of us.
Gets a little ahead.
We're gonna simulate Daniel having one too many. This is rapid cedar finishing.
Okay. To the brim?
To the brim.
Really?
You don't get stingy with.
I don't know if we have enough whiskey to fill this thing to the brim.
No, you got this. Whenever you're in the midst of a tasting and people are asking questions, they want recommendations, it's hectic. So, when the time comes, when the moment comes, you need to unsheath the whiskey, and I'm going to ask you specific things about the label.
Okay. There we go, you ready?
Alright.
I'm just gonna hold it right here. It's no big deal.
Rapid aging.
Okay.
and hippity hop, I'll never be a millionaire.